Hey, what's up, everyone? Back for the 6-game Thursday slate. It's another beautiful slate for tonight. I'm loving this week in terms of just the game schedules. We're not getting crazy like 10, 11 game slates or like 2 or 3 game slates. So it's just been the perfect week for DFS fans. So let's keep it rolling tonight. You can drop a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. Last night, able to creep into cash pretty easily in double ups on Draftkings and Fanduel creeped into cash as well. So looking to keep it going tonight. Starting off here at point guard, we have Trey Young at 9,900. He's under 10,000 again. Last time out, he just couldn't really buy a bucket, and the game did get a little bit out of hand. So he saw only 28 minutes of action. I don't, in close games or even in like other games, he's been seeing 34 to even 39 minutes. So I just wasn't playing that well, and overall he was struggling. 7 turnovers. But I think he can get back on track against the Sixers. It's a tough matchup, but Young at home here, he's matchup proof, and the Sixers could be missing like Al Horford and maybe one other guy is questionable. Now that Embiid's back, I'm not really interested in paying this price for Ben Simmons. He's much better without Embiid. Just without Embiid, there's easy open lanes for him to go through. When Embiid's there, the paint is pretty much filled by Embiid and the defender. So Simmons isn't going to have a ceiling games very often now that Embiid's back, and Embiid is a high-usage player that takes a lot of shots and gets rebounds and everything. Other guys I'm looking at are Kemba Walker and D'Angelo Russell. Kemba, if Tatum's out again, would be in a good spot to get back on track. 5 of 19 from shooting from the field last game. Just also really struggled, but he was still okay with 35.5 fantasy points. If Tatum's out in this matchup, he looks pretty good. And I would say that if you're going cheap here, you got like Will Barton at 6,000, looks fine. He's been struggling from the field, just 3 of 10 shooting, 1 of 6 from distance. He has a lot of opportunities now that he's basically starting as like the point guard with Monty Morris coming off the bench. So he has the opportunity, but he's been struggling a bit. I kind of like Draymond Green here at 5,900 in this spot. He's just been playing the minutes as of late, 32 plus minutes in 3 out of his last 4 games. In close games, they're giving him some run. And now that Willie Cauley-Stein is gone, there is just one less big to give minutes to. So his minutes should be pretty secure. He's not a great shooter or anything, but we like to play Draymond because he gets you peripherals, he gets you rebounds, gets you assists, and he's a good defender in terms of blocks and steals. So at 5,900, he's still at a good price point where he can pay off the salary and give you like a tournament-winning score. Over at shooting guard, it's definitely Bradley Beal looks the most appealing. His minutes are back. He's back to the old Bradley Beal. The price tag is slowly getting up there, but it's a great matchup against Charlotte. They are awful defensively. He should crush in this spot, so he's going to be my favorite guy to pay for, and probably going to be popular on the slate, but I will eat that Bradley Beal chalk just because he's just in such a great spot. Other guys to consider is Terry Rozier at 7,300. And there's not a lot on the slate right now. Like, there's a pretty big price drop from like Smart to Herter, and these guys just aren't that appealing to me right now. Maybe Bogdanovich at 48 could get the job done. Maybe Cam Reddish as like a low-owned play if he's starting again. If Bruno Fernando's out, could be a little bit interesting. But overall, there's not a lot of options that I'm looking at, so might as well get the best option. That's Bradley Beal at 94. Over at small forward, now that Paul George is back, I don't think you need to pay 10.8 for Kawhi. I would say that these Celtics are pretty priced up, but if Tatum's out, you could take a shot on probably either one of them. Maybe Brown looks a little bit more appealing just because he's been a little bit better point per dollar-wise on the year. I like Will Barton and Bogdanovich at their prices. And another Bogdanovich you could play is 4,800 for him. And Bridges hasn't really been getting the minutes. Like, he's been under 30 in some of these games, but if he's playing okay, he can get some minutes like in the 30s, and it's a good spot against Washington. So that's kind of it at this position. And maybe the last guy I'll mention is I don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah, Bogdanovich looks good, and then I think there was one other guy I wanted to mention. I already talked about Cam Reddish over there at shooting guard, but that's kind of... Oh, yeah, Glenn Robinson III. He's been getting a lot of minutes, even though he hasn't been. He's actually been a lot better than people thought as of late in terms of point per dollar wise. As you see, his per minute stats are still awful because earlier in the season he wasn't doing anything. But lately he's been getting the job done. He's at under 5,000. Not a lot to like on the slate in terms of value. He could be a decent option. Right now I like Bojan Bogdanovich. Just the minutes are going to be 34, 35 for him. He's been a good shooter all year, so unlike another guy in this price range, his shot's been falling. He is a pretty decent usage guy. He's not going to get a ton of peripherals, but he can shoot, and you get those extra points on Draftkings for 3 points made. And it's not a great matchup, but I still think this game should stay competitive. So 6,000 for Bogdanovich, I think looks good. We're at power forward. It's Collins if he starts at center again. He definitely could get into foul trouble against Embiid, so that's a little bit risky here. But his per minute stats go up when he starts at center. But the matchup is definitely scary against Embiid, especially with a guy that has been known to get into foul trouble. And then I would say Jeremy Grant looks pretty good at 6,400. And just nobody really plays him, but the minutes are there for him every night. Just with all the injuries on the team, he basically plays backup center as well in some of the times that he's out there. So the minutes are there. The production has been there. The matchup's kind of tough, but I still like him just because he's going to be low owned. And I like Thomas Bryan as well. Played 32 minutes all of a sudden, so if he's probably going to start again, he's probably going to see good minutes going forward unless we hear otherwise. There's no reason he would clear 30 minutes if that's not going to be the trend going forward. And then Marquise Chris at 45 is also a good play if he starts at center tonight. But right now at this position, I'm looking at Jeremy Grant at 64, just like the prices. Price tag on him, he has that 40-point upside, the high 30-point. Kind of like the floor is around 30 or like high 20s for him just with the minutes he plays. And he definitely has some upside as well. Over at center, I like Jokic at just 8,100. He looks good. Serge Ibaka with Marcus All out. DraftKings did price him up, but he could still go there against Cleveland. And I would say go back to Thomas Bryant at 52, or you could play Chris at 45. Right now, I like Marquise Chris. He's been a good point per minute guy on the year. He probably will start at center again tonight against Tice. It's not a great matchup as Tice is a pretty good defender, but this price tag is good for him, a guy that can easily get you 20-plus fantasy points, and if he's having a really good day, could get you close to a double-double. And last but not least, over here at forward, I would say that you could go Thomas Bryant at 52. Just looks good. The matchup is great against Charlotte. They are awful against big men, and the price tag is good if he's going to see the minutes tonight. Unless we hear otherwise, I would expect him to see the good minutes again going forward. And over on Fanduel here at point guard, it's Trey Young looks great at 95. Kyle Lowry looks good. Terry Rozier looks great at 6,800 as well. I don't normally love to go super cheap at point guard just because there's so much opportunity cost as not spending up at the top. But I would say that those three look good to me, and then maybe you could take a shot on like Kemba Walker if Tatum's out again. But I'm liking Rozier a lot. 68 is just a really good price for him in this matchup. He has that upside in the 40s. We've seen it sporadically this year, and it's just one of those spots where he can hit a ceiling more often than not in a matchup against Washington. Over at shooting guard, it's definitely Bradley Beal looks good right at 9,000. I also like D'Angelo Russell at 74, Devontae Graham at 66. They're my top three at this position, and then if you want to go punt, you could play Bogdanovich at 4,300. But tough for me not to have Bradley Beal at 9,000. Small forward, there's a lot of options here. This range looks great in Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward. If Tatum's out, even if Tatum's in, you could play one of them as they should be able to make value. And then you got the Will Barton and the Bogdanovich. Both look fine. And then if you want to go punt, it would be for Glenn Robinson at 4,500. Or it would be for Cam Reddish at 43. They're the two that I like quite a bit. But right now it's Bogdanovich, 55. Just like the price tag on him, like the matchup. Over at power forward, it's going to be like Bielitsa looks okay. He struggled last game. I didn't really see the minutes, but I like him quite a bit tonight. If it's a tough matchup, but I think his price tag is down, and nobody's going to really play him after last game. But he's not going to be a priority. I like Jeremy Grant and Draymond Green a lot more than him. And Serge Ibaka is going to be the core play for me at this position on Fanduel at 56. It's just too cheap for the minutes that he's going to play at center without Gasol. And last but not least, over at center, I'm looking at Rudy Gobert at 9,000. And I'm looking at Marquise Chris a little bit, but instead of Chris, you got Thomas Bryan at 44, cheaper than Chris. He has a better matchup, and if the minutes are there, we've seen him be really productive this year. So Thomas Bryan looks good. If he's going to get a ton of ownership, he could easily pivot up, but we'll see throughout the day. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and good luck tonight.